Hey, this is Irvin Griffin, and welcome to another edition of Grown Man Talk. It's been a minute since I've done one of these, but I wanted to state my piece on this. Now, you know I've been very critical of Keisha Pulliam recently when it comes to her personal life and her situation with Ed Hartwell. Yes, the guy's a jerk for the way he's acting, but in a way, well, not in a way, but I can't really condone some of her actions either. Speaking of Miss Pulliam. But that being said, one thing I will give her credit for, she has always been consistent when it came to her support of her former co-star and mentor, Dr. Bill Cosby, who, of course, who's on trial for the alleged sexual assault of Andrea Constantine, which, in my opinion, this trial, even if he was 100% guilty, this trial should not even be taking place right now, because I'll put it to you. When have you ever heard of somebody selling out of court for anything, but then come back that same, not a different trial, not a different case, the same case, you come back and try to convict someone? I mean, this woman, Andrea Constantine, has already accepted a settlement in this very case in a civil trial in 2005. Why are we coming back to this case now to try him criminally? The only mistake Bill Cosby made, in my opinion, besides messing with this woman, was that he should have gotten whatever his agreement was. He should have gotten it in writing. That was his law team's fault. They should have gotten it in writing. Because I don't think, in my opinion, this case should even be taking place, as I said. But getting back to Keisha Pulliam and her support, I know some people was probably going crazy about her coming to the defense of Bill Cosby, but she's been consistent about that this entire time. If I'm not mistaken, didn't she kind of put Amber Rose in check on her podcast, Candidly Keisha? Didn't she put her in check about Bill Cosby when she tried to say something sideways about him? Amber Rose, of all people. So, in my opinion, I applaud Keisha Pulliam for being consistent on this. Say what you will about a lot of her feminist views, and say what you will about her situation with Ed Hartman, which I don't approve. I think both of them are at fault on that. But you got to give her credit for sticking to her guns. And from what I've heard, I was listening to Nicole's View this morning. From what I heard, Phylicia Rashad is also supposed to show up at that trial at some point in support of Bill Cosby. And she's also been a consistent supporter. In fact, of the Cosby Show Bates, the only one I know of on record that has gone against Bill Cosby is the guy that played Martin Kendall, the husband of Denise on the show. I think his name was Joseph C. Phillips. He's the only one. The rest of them have either been neutral and stayed out of it, or have come to his aid. The only ones on record that I know have come to his defense is Phylicia Rashad, Keisha Pulliam, Malcolm Jamal Warner, and if you want to count Different World, which was a Cosby Show spinoff, Sinbad. Even Raven Simone, while she has not out and out come to the defense of Bill Cosby, she has also chosen not to say anything. In fact, when this case first came out, the lamestream media, or as some pro-blacks might call it, white supremacist media, tried to put out that Bill Cosby may have molested Raven Simone on the set. She immediately came out and put them in check. Maybe one of the only times I will ever cheer Raven Simone on something. She immediately came out and put them in check. Was like, look, all I ever remember was that Dr. Cosby and everybody else, and I'm paraphrasing what she said, and everybody else on the set treated me nice. Plus, her parents were there constantly. So there's no way, even if Bill Cosby was a pedophile, which there's no evidence whatsoever that he's that. But even if he was, he wouldn't have had opportunity or time to do anything. And basically, she just point blank bluntly just said, now leave me out of it. And you notice nobody has really said anything about Raven-Symoné and the Cosby situation since then. So, I mean, there's so much I can say on this case. To me, this case should not even be taking place. And this is what I find so amazing. And I've said this in other videos as well. This is what I find so amazing. Most of Cosby's supporters have been black men. And surprisingly, white women. Surprisingly. And I say surprisingly, since the majority of these people that are claiming they're victims of Bill Cosby have been of, let's say, of the Caucasian persuasion. And yeah, they thrown in a few mixed women. They thrown in Beverly Johnson, which I don't buy her story either. I think Whoopi Goldberg, before she backed down and decided to coon, I think she had it right initially when she questioned Beverly Johnson. Because I think even she knows this is probably a bunch of bunk. Beverly Johnson was probably giving up them butt cheeks willingly. Because why would you call Bill Cosby at his personal phone? If it was just business or something, why wouldn't you call him at his business phone? Why would you call it a personal phone? Unless there was some kind of personal connection and unless something wasn't going on. Now, do I think Bill Cosby cheated on his wife? Yes. Do I think he boinked some of these women? Yes. Do I think he raped any of these women? Absolutely not. And people say, well, he admitted to drugs. He confessed. No. He confessed to using Quaaludes in the act of sex. I think most of these women, if not all of them, knew what they were taking. In fact, of those 40 women, almost all of them, their cases were dismissed either for lack of evidence or they figured out that they were full of it. And of the 13 that did go forward, I mean, most of them were, as I said, dismissed ultimately. And I know, and here's the most puzzling thing. Most of his detractors have actually been, well, not surprisingly, white men, but more surprisingly, black women. And I think they're in their feelings because Bill Cosby cheated on his wife. I think deep down they know he probably did not rape any of these women, but they're in their feelings. And I mean, I know a couple of women like that in my personal life. And they even pointed to the fact that lawyer, the very intelligent black woman that dropped out, I can't think of her name at the moment. She dropped out. So like, that's evidence right there. I was like, not necessarily. How do you know there wasn't something going on that she didn't agree with? People drop out. Lawyers drop out of cases for all kinds of reasons. You can't really go by that and say, oh, that's evidence. Not really. Since neither side has actually came out and said why she dropped out, you can't really point to that and say that's evidence that he's guilty. The only thing they've proven he's guilty of is cheating on his wife. And if Keisha Knight Pulliam chooses to support Bill Cosby, that's her right. If Phylicia Rashad chooses to support Bill Cosby, that's their right. You got family members supporting other family members, even when it's clear evidence, way more clear than this case, that he's a rapist or whatever. You got people doing that now, and they don't get ridiculed. So why should these women or any man get ridiculed? Why should Sinbad be ridiculed? Why should Malcolm Jamal Warner and whoever else decides to support Bill Cosby be ridiculed? Why should Bill Cosby's children, who has defended him, be ridiculed? And then plus, didn't one of the women whose case actually was allowed to go forward, all of a sudden dropped the case, she said, oh, I'm satisfied. No, the real reason she dropped the case, I can't think of that white woman's name at the moment, but the real reason she dropped that case, I believe, she knew she had no case. And then when the judge said, oh, your thing can proceed, she knew, excuse my language, she knew shit got real. And she knew if she got on that stand, she was going to be exposed. So, in my personal opinion, Keisha Knight Pulliam, I'll give her that credit. She has been consistent when it comes to her supporting Bill Cosby. So really, it's no surprise that he's that she's coming to his case. Well, there's more I could say on it, but I think I pretty much summed it up right here. For Grown Man Talk, I'm Irvin Griffin.